The healers at St. Mungo's called it a miracle she'd survived at all. Dolores Umbridge sat in the Janus Thicky ward, her pink cardigan buttoned wrong, 3 buttons off from the collar. She'd been buttoning it that way for 6 weeks. No one corrected her anymore. Her eyes tracked something that wasn't there, a shadow near the window, a shape between the beds. "The boy," she whispered to the healer who brought her evening potion. "The boy with the plants. He's here. He's always here." The healer made a note. Persistent hallucinations, paranoid delusions, no improvement. 3 beds down, Alice Longbottom hummed tunelessly, folding a Drubel's wrapper. Umbridge screamed. The laughter started before Neville even understood the question. "I'm sorry, Mr. Longbottom." Umbridge's voice dripped sweetness. "You were explaining why you believe defensive magic should be taught practically?" Neville stood beside his desk, hands shaking. "It's just, some of us have seen what's out there, what can happen. My parents were Aurors. They fought—" "Ah, yes," Umbridge cut him off, voice rising for the whole class. "Frank and Alice Longbottom, tortured into insanity by Death Eaters. Permanent residents at St. Mungo's, aren't they? In the incurable ward?" The room went silent. "Tell me, Mr. Longbottom." She leaned forward, eyes bright with something hungry. "Do they even recognize you anymore? Or do they just stare?" Someone laughed, maybe Malfoy. "I only ask because it seems rather presumptuous for someone with such damaged stock to lecture the Ministry on matters of defense." Damaged stock. Something inside Neville, something that had been holding together for 15 years, cracked. Not loudly, not visibly, just cracked. "Sit down, Mr. Longbottom, and do try to remember your place." He sat. Neville didn't go to dinner that night. He went to Greenhouse 3. The door creaked open. Humid air wrapped around him, warm, alive. Moonlight turned the leaves silver green. This was the only place that made sense, the only place where patience and care produced results. He stopped at the venomous tentacula. It swayed toward him, sensing warmth. Its tendrils were the purple red of old bruises. Neville studied it for a long time. Damaged stock. His hands weren't shaking anymore. The next morning, Professor Sprout found him repotting shrivel figs, robes dirt-stained, eyes red-rimmed. "I heard about what Umbridge said," she offered gently. "If you ever need to talk." "I'd like to do an independent study, advanced herbology." His voice was calm, steady, not his voice at all. "I want to learn about the plants we don't talk about, the ones in the restricted section." She should have said no. Later, she would think about this moment and wonder. "I'll write you a pass," she said. That night, Neville sat on his bed, wand light flickering over most potente plantes. Near the back, in a section that smelled of old parchment, the Mindro elixir. Symptoms develop gradually over 4 to 6 weeks. Paranoia, hallucinations, deteriorating memory, undetectable by standard diagnostic spells due to organic composition. No known antidote. He read the entry 3 times, then closed the book. The new moon came on a Thursday. Neville slipped out at 2:30, moving through darkness toward Greenhouse 3. The plants seemed more awake at night, rustling, reaching toward him like supplicants. His fingers found the tentacula, traced the swollen nodes where extract collected. The plant shuddered, recognized him. "Easy, I only need a little." The sap dripped into his vial like honey, like blood. The devil's snare was harder, but he'd been feeding it for weeks. It knew his scent. His fingers found a root near the base, thick, pulsing. He cut a 6-inch section, Behind him, something moved. Footsteps, soft, deliberate. Curious place for a midnight stroll, Longbottom. Snape. The potions master stood in the doorway, black robes bleeding into shadow. I might ask what brings you here at this hour, but I suspect I wouldn't receive an honest answer. I couldn't sleep, sir. I come here sometimes. To think. To think, Snape moved closer. I heard about Professor Umbridge's comments regarding your parents. A cruel woman. Petty. The sort who mistakes cruelty for strength. He stopped directly in front of Neville. I wonder what a boy with your particular talents might be contemplating. Here, alone, among plants that can kill. Neville met his eyes. For the first time in 5 years, he didn't look away. I'm not contemplating anything, Professor. Seconds stretched. The greenhouse held its breath. 50 points from Gryffindor for being out after curfew. Snape turned toward the door, then paused. Whatever you're planning, Longbottom, make certain you don't get caught. Then he was gone. Neville brewed the elixir in the room of requirement. I need a place to work, he thought, pacing the 7th floor corridor. A place no one will find. The door appeared. Inside, a small apothecary. Stone walls, copper cauldron. Every ingredient he could need. No windows, no portraits, no witnesses. The elixir took 3 days. Rendering extract into concentrated syrup. Grinding root into powder. Combining them with precise, practiced movements. The final ingredient was his own blood. Just 3 drops. The elixir must know its master, the text read. When finished, the liquid was perfectly clear, odorless, indistinguishable from water. He filled a small crystal vial and tucked it into the pocket where he kept his mother's candy wrappers. 3 days later, Dolores Umbridge took ill at breakfast. It started small. She paused mid-sentence, teacup frozen halfway to her lips. Her eyes went distant for exactly 4 seconds. Then she blinked, smiled, and continued speaking. No one noticed except Neville. He dosed her sugar bowl during one of her classroom inspections. 3 drops. That's all it took. He took a bite of toast. It tasted like ashes. This is what you wanted, he told himself. This is justice. But somewhere deeper, something that sounded like his mother's voice whispered, "What have you become?" The second sign came 4 days later. Neville was in Herbology when the door burst open. Umbridge stood there, but not the Umbridge they knew. Cardigan rumpled, bow crooked, eyes darting like a cornered animal's. "Which one of you has been whispering outside my door?" she hissed. "I hear you, at night, scratching, muttering." The class stared. The shadows are watching, always watching, and you're all part of it. Her gaze swept the room and landed on Neville. For one terrible moment, she stared. Then her face contorted and she screamed. The sound wasn't human. Raw, primal. She stumbled backward, crashing into shelves. Pots shattered. Soil exploded. "Get away from me! I see what you really are. The vines, the roots growing out of your eyes." She fired a hex at an empty corner, collapsed to her knees, clawing at her own arms. "This is what you did," a voice whispered. "This is what you made." Professor Sprout and McGonagall burst through the door. In the chaos, Neville slipped out. He made it to the 2nd floor bathroom before he vomited. The ministry sent investigators. They tested everything: food, water, air, scanned for curses and dark artifacts. They found nothing. Within 2 weeks, Umbridge had stopped teaching entirely. The official story was exhaustion. The school began to breathe again, but Hermione Granger cornered Neville in the common room. "I've been researching Umbridge's symptoms," she whispered. Their textbook for plant-based magical poisoning. There's an elixir in most potente plants. Stop. You have access to the restricted section, Neville. Sprout gave you a pass. For ordinary research, nothing dangerous. Then let me see your notes. Neville met her eyes, let his voice crack. Became the boy everyone expected. You think I'm capable of something like that? Me? The doubt flickered across her face. She weighed his known incompetence against the impossible possibility. I'm not accusing you, she said finally. But if someone is doing this, it's dark magic, Neville. It's what Death Eaters do. If I hear anything, I'll tell you. She walked away. Neville watched her go. She'd keep digging, keep connecting dots. The choice had already been made. He just hadn't admitted it yet. After a DA meeting, Ginny Weasley blocked his path. Something's wrong with you. You've been different for weeks, and Hermione told me her theory. What do you want? The truth. He should lie, should deflect. But Ginny had been possessed by Voldemort, had carried darkness inside her. If anyone could understand, she destroyed my parents, Bellatrix, and Umbridge laughed about it. Nobody was going to stop her. So you did. It wasn't a question. Yes, Ginny nodded slowly. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not going to help you either. She moved toward the door. And if you get caught, I don't know anything. I understand. She left. One more thread to track, one more variable to control. Just like Bellatrix, something whispered. He pushed the thought away. Umbridge's final coherent act was to summon him. The note arrived at midnight. 2 words in pink ink. Greenhouse 3. She knew. Neville walked through darkness toward the greenhouse. The plants rustled toward him as he entered. Umbridge waited by the venomous tentacula, hair grayed at the roots, skin sallow. The pink cardigan hung loose on her wasted frame, but her eyes were clear. Longbottom, I knew you'd come. How did you know it was me? The shadows told me. At first I thought I was mad, but then I realized the shadows were showing me the truth. She stepped forward, swaying. It was always you. The quiet ones are always the dangerous ones. I'm not weak. No, you're not. A broken smile. So what happens now? You've won. I'm ruined. There are holes in my mind, growing holes. I know. And you're content watching me rot? You mocked my parents. His voice was ice. You laughed about what Bellatrix did to them. My mother can't recognize her own son. My father doesn't know his own name, and you made it a joke. Umbridge backed away. The tentacula's tendrils brushed her shoulders. I'm sorry. No, you're afraid. That's not the same thing. Then what are you going to do? Neville looked at her, at the ruined woman she'd become. Nothing. The elixir will do the rest. Then let me die. If you're going to destroy me, have the mercy to... Mercy? The word tasted like poison. Did you show mercy to the students you tortured with blood quills? To anyone, ever? She had no answer. Neville turned to leave. Wait, the Longbottoms, your parents. I knew them before. They were kind people. Her voice cracked. They would be ashamed of what you've done. The words hit like a curse. Maybe, Neville said quietly, but they're not here to be ashamed. They're in St. Mungo's, staring at walls, because of people like you. He walked into the night. Behind him, Umbridge screamed. They found her the next morning, curled beneath the tentacula, shivering and muttering. The Ministry investigators filed their report. Acute psychological deterioration of unknown origin. A closed file. A problem solved. The kitten plates came down. The blood quills vanished. The inquisitorial squad disbanded. Hogwarts exhaled. Neville tended his plants. Professor McGonagall found him in Greenhouse 3 on the third night. "The investigators have gone," she said quietly. "Umbridge will require permanent care. St. Mungo's has agreed to take her, the Janus Thicky ward. The same ward where his parents lived." "Fitting," he said softly. McGonagall's eyes sharpened. "Is it? She hurt people for months, and no one stopped her." "There are proper channels, Mr. Longbottom, proper ways to seek justice." "Are there? The Ministry sent her here. Dumbledore knew, everyone knew, and they did nothing." Silence. "I'm not going to ask what happened to Professor Umbridge," McGonagall said finally. "But whatever path you've chosen, it changes you. Every choice carries weight." She paused. "Your parents believed in fighting cleanly, in being the kind of people they wanted the world to be. They would be ashamed." "I'm not my parents," Neville said. "No," her voice was sad. "No, you're not." Summer arrived. Neville went to St. Mungo's. His mother sat by her window, folding a wrapper into smaller squares. Her hands trembled continuously. "I did something," he said quietly. "Something you wouldn't like. There was a woman who laughed about what Bellatrix did. So I broke her, Mum. Like they broke you." His mother stopped folding, looked at him with something flickering in her vacant eyes. Then she pressed something into his palm. Not a wrapper, a seed, small, dark, unrecognizable. "Grow," she whispered. Then the light faded, and she returned to her wrappers. A door opened. Through it, Neville saw Umbridge in her chair, eyes tracking shadows, lips moving soundlessly. Her gaze found his. Recognition, terror, the boy with the plants. Neville felt no triumph, just a hollow ache. He looked away. Years after the war, Professor Longbottom stands in Greenhouse 3. Sunlight is golden. Students move between aisles, laughing, unaware of the history in these walls. He's the kind professor now, patient, gentle, beloved. No one suspects what lies beneath. In the far corner, something grows in a pot no one else touches. The plant his mother gave him, dark leaves, flowers that open only under new moons. He doesn't know what it does, has never used it, but it's there, waiting. "Professor Longbottom?" A first year's voice. "What kind of plant is that?" He looks at the innocence in those eyes, at the world this child still believes is safe. "Something rare," he says, "something powerful, something you should never have to use." He touches the pot one last time. Let's hope it stays that way. The war ended. The heroes won. But history is written by the victors, and the victors rarely tell the whole truth. I have a question for you. Neville Longbottom crossed a line that Harry Potter never would. He became a monster to defeat a monster. Was he justified? Does the end justify the means when you are fighting pure evil? Or did Neville become exactly what he hated? Tell me your verdict in the comments below. And if you want to uncover more secret histories, darker timelines, and the true cost of war in the wizarding world, subscribe to VictsVerse. Because in the multiverse, the truth is rarely simple.